What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you haven't seen this channel before, my name's Lawson and I'm here to critique your tattoos. Whether you're a tattoo artist or a collector, I'm here to break them down and tell you the goods, the bads, the ins and the outs, what I would change, what I would do differently. Hopefully you can pick up something from these videos, whether you're a tattoo artist and you're picking up new techniques to apply to your next tattoo, or you're a collector watching. Hopefully these will prevent you from making some terrible decisions in the future. And make sure you stick around to the very end where I'm going to talk about my favorite tattoo of this session and also my least favorite tattoo, or as we like to call it, the toilet tattoo. The toilet tattoo. I hope you're ready. Let's do it. The first one sent in is from Oriol from Barcelona. So initially I'm not exactly sure if this is supposed to be Zeus or Poseidon. I'm gonna say Poseidon just because of the water waves in the back. However, I am not hugely versed on mythology, and overall this is a pretty solid tattoo. I like the general shape and the space that it takes up. I do feel like it gets a little lost or muddy near the top. If we're gonna break this down, let's start up there. I feel like everything is crisp from the waves at the very bottom to the beard, all the way up to the nose and eyes, and then for some reason the sky and what looks like to be his crown is getting very blurry, or is just all of a sudden started to get very soft. And I'm not sure if that's just because the artist maybe was starting to get a little tired up near the top, but it seems like not as much care was taken at the top as it was the bottom. But this also could be something that the artist is trying to convey and maybe give a little bit of depth to. I just think it kind of missed the mark a little bit. I think the crown is something that I would have kept nice and sharp, and the background I would have kept nice and blurry. I do like the texture throughout the entire tattoo and how they chose to use a stippling effect throughout. I wish I would have seen some higher contrast throughout it though. Maybe throughout the beard have a lot more darks at the bottom, to where it looks like there's not very much light hitting the beard, and maybe a little more light in the front of the face. And I think that would have gave some nice juxtaposition with the lighting. Overall, it's very dark, and I like the dark feel to it. Again, I do like the composition that it takes up and the amount of space that it takes up on your outer arm. I'd be curious to see what's going to end up on your inner arm. And for all the artists out there, maybe I would suggest adding a couple different line weights throughout this. You have the opportunity in the beard to use a lot of thin line weights to show thin strands and thin hairs. And you can use a bolder line weight, maybe a 9 or a 14, a little bit thicker needle, to really emphasize the outer structure of the mustache and the beard and the nose and the forehead and the crown. When you use a thicker needle like that, it really brings into focus certain things. It shows you what is sitting in front, and it also helps cluster certain items together. So when you're using a 14 liner or a 9 liner on the outside part of the beard and mustache, you're clustering together certain hairs. And then like a 3 liner or a 5 liner can be used to show the thin hairs throughout those clusters. But yeah, overall, solid tattoo. There are a couple things I would change near the top. That's it. Thanks for sending that in, Oriol. Next up, we've got Benjamin Averitt. Benjamin sent in a few space tattoos. We're gonna start with this skin rip, really interesting concept. I don't think I've seen space underneath a skin rip before, so the idea is cool. However, I don't think the artistry is as good as it could be. This is just my opinion. I feel like there's almost too much purple and not enough black. It would convey space a bit more if there were more black. In space, there's not a whole lot of crazy colors. There's a lot of darkness. When you have those crazy colors, they are very crazy, very vibrant and saturated only because of the dark and blackness around them. What I would do with this tattoo is just add more black to what's already there. When you add black next to these purples, those purples are gonna jump and pop out at you a lot more and just make the tattoo more vivid overall. It would also help take away the outlines that you see on the skin rip, making them feel like they're actually your skin and not pieces of skin with an outline on them when you butt up that black next to those and shade away from those. On your left arm, you've got this galaxy, and I see a lot of white ink that probably isn't going to stand the test of time. There are a few stars here and there that I feel like could use a little bit of a gray wash outline ever so lightly around those whites. It would help those stars become a lot more bright. Another place I would think about adding some small gray wash outlines are around the front planet and maybe even that back planet that has all the white around it. If you were to add a very faint gray wash outline around that rear planet, it would help stand out against the white and the skin tone and all those lighter colors, and it would just help the planet feel a lot more sharp, especially when it comes to the front planet. The asteroids are cool at the bottom. I just feel like if you're going to throw them in there, maybe throw a few more in there, maybe give it a little bit of a belt motion or something like that. And maybe there are, I'm just not seeing it because the arm's turned. But yeah, with your left arm tattoo, I would just suggest maybe adding a few gray wash outlines outlines here and there, maybe some more deep colors. And again, you can't go wrong with black when it comes to space. You really can't. You also sent in your back tattoo. This is a good example of adding black to space tattoos. The artist that did this tattoo knew that it took a lot of black and a lot of dark shades to help make the colors pop. And you can tell if you were to hold this tattoo next to your arm tattoo, these colors pop a lot more. Even though the same blues could be used in your arm that are used in your back, it's just the black that is helping them pop a lot more. However, I could say the same thing about the gray wash outlines for this tattoo. It seems like they're just mag shaded around these planets, and the planets kind of get lost in the background. There are outlines on the fingers, but I feel like the outlines on the fingers are a bit strong, and there's not enough outline on the planets. For example, Earth here. You have these very strong outlines on the fingers and no outlines on Earth, so it makes the hands feel a little illustrated, whereas Earth is almost too soft, giving it almost too much contrast of clarity. If there were an outline around the Earth, I feel like it would make it feel like it's sitting in front of the other planets and this moon here and everything else. I do feel like the artist went a bit too harsh on the outlines inside the hands. The outer hand outline looks great. The inner hand outlines seem like they're a bit dark. Overall, great color for this tattoo. I would have just kind of toned back on the outlines on the hand. And one other thing, as I was talking about the tattoo on your left arm, gray wash outlining the stars and certain planets, you could do the same thing on this star on the top of this wrist on this hand here. If you were to add a little bit of gray wash outline around that star, it wouldn't get so lost on the wrist. It would actually pop out on top of that hand. Again, I know it sounds counterintuitive to add those outlines around stars, but trust me, it'll work. I would have also liked to see this back tattoo have a little bit more shape to it instead of just a circular feel to it. Overall, you've got some pretty solid tattoos on your body. You've got some nice vibrant color on your back, and you've got some interesting tattoos on your arms. And for anybody watching who's into space tattoos, check out the artist Jesse Ricks. I'll link his Instagram below. Dude is mental. So thank you for sending those in, Benjamin. I do appreciate it. Next, we have Neus Blanco. Neus sent in a couple traditional tattoos that are super rad. Both of these are on your thigh. The first one you sent in was of this cowgirl. Man, oh man, there's really not much that I would change about this tattoo. I think this is done very beautifully. When doing traditional tattoos, there is generally a rule of thirds that tattooers like to go by, and that's usually a third black, a third color, a third skin tone. And somewhere around in there, you find your happy spot. And you can tell that rule is applied to this tattoo exceptionally. The little bit of black above the middle brim of the hat that transfers to the color, that ever so softly transfers to the skin tone, the lines that are running through the hair that help give this shape to the clusters of hair and help your eye distinguish which way the hair is flowing. On point. The colors, the tones, the orangish red, the nice fine lines around the nose, the mouth, and the eyes really bring this whole tattoo together, and they work very well with the thicker lines that are around the tattoo and in the hair. You sent in another one that the artist said that they really didn't want to add the words to this tattoo, and I can understand why. A lot of tattooers don't want to add words to tattoos just because sometimes we feel like it takes away from the art itself. For example, I would tell my clients that sometimes it's like looking at a nice oil painting. You have this beautiful piece of art, and then sometimes when you throw words in there, your eye automatically goes to the words instead of looking at the painting as a whole. That being said, sometimes our tattoos require words, or that's the whole entire meaning of getting the tattoo in the first place. So I understand why these words are there, and I wouldn't take them out since that was the meaning of getting the tattoo in the first place. I really like the cheetah prints on the umbrella. That's a nice little something they pulled out from their bag of tricks that I really enjoy. The red lightning bolts are bold, and even the lettering is well done, even though they didn't want to put that in there. I do wish there was a different color used where the clouds intersect the umbrella and intersect her hair. That cold grayish green tone that's there also kind of matches the clouds, also kind of matches the umbrella handle. So it's not as clear as it could be in there. And also one more thing, the hips kind of come down at an odd shape and the butt kind of comes off as a little sharp. I'm just nitpicking at that point, but that's what I'm here to do. Overall, these two tattoos are exceptional. I'd be happy to wear either one of them, especially this first one with the cowgirl. There's nothing I would change about this. An exceptionally well executed tattoo. So thank you, Neus, for sending those in. I do appreciate your time. So next up, we've got Lucas. Lucas sent in a few tattoos on his arm. Let's rip them up very quickly. I like the scorpion, I like the rose. Not a huge fan of the feather, but I have never really been a huge fan of feathers, especially since I've tattooed the hell out of them years ago. The dice aren't bad. Let's talk about the scorpion a little bit. I like the scorpion a lot. I like the shape, I like how he's sitting over your arm, and I like how the tail is coming up on the bottom part of your arm a lot. And if that's by the same artist, I'm sure that's gonna heal just fine because the bird looked like it's healed great. I do like the bee and I like the rose. If I were doing this tattoo, I would add a bit more contrast through the center of the rose, just so it's not the same tonal value throughout the entire bulb of the rose. Maybe a little darker on the inside where there's less light and a little more skin tone on the outer petals. But I do like the leaves, and like I said, I like the bee too. Not the biggest fan of the frowny face or the other little heart with the cross above it, but I suppose it fills up those blank spots. I just probably would have filled it up with something else. When doing small tattoos like the dice that you have on your arm, when there's not a lot of line work involved, it's very easy to see any flaw or hiccup that you have throughout those lines. For example, the dice that you've got on your arm here, I can tell that the circles inside of them aren't exactly the same shape as each other, which is a very easy mistake to make, being that they are very small and there's not a lot of other things to distract you from those. Although it looks so simple, it's a very difficult tattoo to execute. The butterfly's a little wonky. It just seems like it got a little weak in the wings, maybe a little weak in the body. Adding some new fresh line weight to that would really help that out quite a bit. It does look like two different tattooers tattooed you. The person doing all the stipple work and then the person doing the small black lines. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but overall cool tattoos. Thanks, Lucas, for sending those in. So this next tattoo is sent in by, I'm gonna butcher your name terribly, so we're gonna call you Big G. It's Glorgo or Clorgo or Giaro or I don't know, but it's Big G today. So what's up, Big G? Big G, you sent in this tattoo by Val of Caravaggio. Caravaggio is an amazing painting, and Val Tattoo is an amazing tattooer. Anybody watching, if you're not familiar with her work, also check her out as well. I will also link her Instagram in the description. She does a lot of freehand work. A lot of times she will create portrait work or paintings just with a marker or with nothing at all. It's a very fascinating process to watch. So you got this nice Caravaggio piece on your entire leg from butt to ankle, which is ridiculous. I think she did an exceptional job with this. This looks like a true painting, a true masterpiece. You know, and not just a tattoo, but this looks like it's fitting to the form of your body. Again, excellent work coming from an excellent tattooer. I'm not super sure how I feel about the big bold black line running in front of this woman's face here, but it does help her face sit in front of the other one. I would just be very curious to see what it looks like without those big black bold lines around there, and maybe just more solid black into maybe some more deep colors and deep reds like the actual painting itself. But yeah, overall this thing is super rad. There's not much I would do to add to it. Excellent work. You did send in another one of this cat, and I'm gonna pick this one apart a little bit because to me it's kind of on the other side of the spectrum from this Val tattoo. I just feel like this is lacking a lot of line work, and I don't mean bold black line work, I just mean lots of thin line work. This is a scary little cat, and I feel like it's missing a lot of textures is what I'm saying. And also color doesn't seem to be packed in as well as it should be. I don't know how old this cat is, but it seems like it's been sitting on your leg for maybe more than 10 years. And if it hasn't, that just means the tattooer didn't put in the ink how they were supposed to, and if it is more than 10 years old, I mean, that's what we expect. There's just a lot of missing line work from this tattoo. There needs a lot more structure. There needs more lines in the nose, more lines in the eyes, more lines above the eyes, in the whiskers, in the teeth. It just seems like the artist didn't use a whole lot of lines, and now you can kind of tell that these shades and shapes are kind of blurring together a bit. And that's what's gonna happen if there's no contrast to hold them apart. I think this tattoo is definitely salvageable. I'd be very curious to see what it looks like with a nice fresh coat of paint. So thanks, Big G. I appreciate you sending those in. So as I said in the beginning, I'm going to give you my favorite tattoo and my least favorite tattoo. Or as we like to call it,
the toilet tattoo.
So this week my favorite comes from Neus, and that is the cowgirl traditional tattoo that you sent in on your thigh. I absolutely love this tattoo, and like I said, there wasn't really anything that I would do to change this tattoo. I think this is beautifully done. I love it the way it sits. Excellent work. Good job, Neus. Good job to Neus's artist. And this week's toilet tattoo comes from Benjamin. Sorry, buddy. You've got some really cool tattoos on you, but I love how cheesy this skin rip in space one is. There's just something about it. It's one of these tattoos that I love to hate. There are several things that I would do to it to kind of take it to this next level, more so than a lot of the other tattoos I've seen this week. So that's why you're this week's least favorite tattoo. But don't feel too bad, because we're still giving our losers something. We're gonna eventually have some sort of contest where we're gonna give the losers and the winners of each tattoo each week. We'll send them out something nice. But for now, what was your favorite tattoos this week? What was your least favorite? Leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want to see your tattoo on this channel, please send it in to ponycritiques@gmail.com, and hopefully you'll see it up here on a future episode. Thanks again, I appreciate you watching. Peace.